Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's been about 3 days since patch 9.10 has been live, so I have a pretty good idea of what my opinions are for the meta and some of the agents. For those of you who don't know, there have been 5 agents that have been affected by this patch, or at least directly affected, those being Cypher, Sage, Omen, Clove, and Phoenix. Let's start with Phoenix, because I think he's the flashiest character and the one that probably a lot of you guys actually care about coming onto this list. And in my opinion, I think Phoenix is probably about A tier right now. My reasoning for this is because of the map pool. It supports Phoenix quite a lot with Haven, Ascent, and Pearl. Pearl, I think, is the strongest map in the entire game. And although the mini rework is more of a quality of life change and there is an actual buff, I think that alone is enough to push Phoenix a bit higher in the upper echelons of play. You're definitely going to be seeing a lot more of him ranked. Cypher has been nerfed quite significantly. From this, I mean being S tier and pretty much the only playable Sentinel to kind of now being an afterthought on a lot of maps. One of the things that I think this Cypher nerf has done more than making the class or the character unviable is actually mega buff Neon. I'm going to talk about this when I get to Neon. The Cypher is kind of useless right now. A lot of the strength on his trips comes from the fact that you're able to kill instantly off of them. Otherwise, they're only there for information. Agents can so easily escape his tripwires now, and with agents like Sage being buffed, where she has actual kill pressure and kill potential on her slows, what's really the point in playing Cypher if you're not doing it for information? So for me right now, he's B tier. In a lot of the games I've played, he's ended up kind of being useless, at least in comparison to the other Sentinels like Deadlock, Sage, and Vyse. Speaking of which, Sage, I'm actually putting her in A tier. If you've watched a lot of my other tier lists, which I'm sure some of you have, you would have seen that I put her in C tier and sometimes even in D tier as one of the worst agents in the game alongside Harbor. The small changes that they've made this patch are so significant, even though they don't look like they are. The resurrection cost change is instantly noticeable in all of your matches. You will have like probably one more Sage res per game than you did before, which doesn't sound that much. When you think about the fact that ultimates only really get used 3 or 4 times a game, that's a lot. And the slowing orb does a lot to combat this really fast rush meta, especially with Neon. If you dash into a slow orb, you're basically stunned. Even if you walk into it, you can't move through it at all, which means that her delay is incredible now. And so I think Sage actually rivals both Cypher and Killjoy for the more traditional Sentinel role now. We're almost in beta times seeing Phoenix and Sage at the top of the tier list. This is crazy. Omen. Now, Omen got a pretty sizable nerf, I think. They took away the one major characteristic that set him apart from the other controllers. That being his one-way smokes. You can no longer do one-ways on surfaces where you can't stand, which means anything like the one-way smoke on the Sunset Market door, you can't do. This sucks. This was a lot of Omen's skill expression and really a lot of what made Omen so much better than the other picks on the roster. Now he really is competing with Astra, with Clove, and maybe with Brimstone. I don't think Omen is bad, I just don't think he's S tier anymore. Clove. This change of their kit is pretty much negligible. It's really a rank change, so they stay in B tier. That's it for all the directly affected agents, and I'm going to run through the duel list, starting with Neon. I think this is the strongest Neon has ever been at any point in the game. My reasoning for this is that due to the Cypher changes, the only real threat that Neon faces is Sage's slow orbs. The trips don't really pose a threat to her anymore. She can run straight through sights with full util everything. If she gets caught by a tripwire, she can slide back. And you add that on top of all of the things that players are currently struggling to fight against right now, like 100% movement actually during the slide, and you have a nightmare fuel agent. Without a doubt, we are going to see Neon nerfs in patch 9.11. So for Neon mains like myself, this is our time to enjoy what we can out of her before she gets changed. Jett. Solidator, good for opping, has always been good really. I don't think she's going to be falling out of A tier anytime soon. Likewise with Yoru, kind of performs a similar role that he always has done. The change to the other characters don't really affect him because he doesn't have a dash, he has a teleport, and the map pool has stayed pretty much the same. I think maybe with the addition of Pearl is an argument that he could be a bit stronger, and after the Neon nerfs, I can see Yoru going into S tier under the condition that some other agents maybe get nerfed. I don't know. We'll have to see. But I think Yoru's in a pretty good spot now. I think Yoru's in a pretty good spot right now, so I'm putting him in 8. Raze, also high A tier. I think after the Neon nerfs, you're going to see her being the best agent in the game. But right now, she's top of the pack. But right now, she's top 2. On maps where you're not running Neon, you're basically running Raze, with the exception of Ascent, where you're going to be running Jett. And overall, the satchel changes didn't really do that much. I just think the fact that Neon is so power scaled right now kind of means that Raze can't be tested. Now, ISO and Reyna, they are going straight into B tier. I've said this before, I'll say it again. And a lot of people in my comment section seem to think that they're like the second coming of Christ to video games. These characters aren't that good, man. I'm sorry. ISO and Reyna fulfill one thing. It's that kind of Smurf, like pug stomp category of character. It's like picking Yasuo and Iron. You know you're going to get fed. You know you're going to win the game. With that being said, I don't think there's no place for them in pro play. And they're definitely strong in ranked for that reason. But they're not S tier. You can do the same thing on Neon, on Raze, on Phoenix, on Jett, on Yoru that you can do on Reyna and ISO. But you have utility that can actually help you close out rounds. On these agents, it's just pure gunfights, unfortunately. And ISO is nowhere near as strong as he was when he had the 2-kill reset on his ship. Now onto the initiator. Let's start with Gekko, because Gekko previously, I think I had him in S tier. Right now, I'm honestly leaning towards the lower end of A tier. The nerfs that they gave him were quite substantial, and I think it was enough to drop him a peg or two, honestly. Maybe even leaning into B tier. I've not seen that much Gekko being played. And outside of the ultimate, I think he does suffer a lot from the pickup times being increased on the orbs. And it does suck, really. But he's not unplayable. He's still strong on a lot of maps. Of course, the existence of Wingman always means that Gekko is going to be high up on the tier list. But I don't think he's a super priority pick right now. KO. I'm going to put KO at B tier. Outside of Ascent, you're not really going to be seeing KO played that much. And I don't think you should be playing KO that much. Ascent and Sunset. Sorry. My main reasoning for that is that a lot of players won't actually know how to play KO. The flash lineups can be very situational, and you need to know so many different lineups to set your duelist up. On top of the fact that you have to communicate your flashes, it's just unrealistic for ranked players. But on top of that, a lot of the maps in the map right now don't really set up KO that well, in my opinion. Then again, I've always kind of been a bit of a KO fence rider. Like some patches, I'll put him in S tier. Other patches, I'll put him in B tier. I don't really know what to think of him, especially because I make these tier lists based on both pro and ranked, and I mix the two together. Maybe I shouldn't be doing that, because if we base the tier list strictly off of pro, which I guess then we'd have to do it by maps, there will be a lot of cases where KO is S tier. But just by trying to mix the balance, for you guys at home, he's probably B tier. Skye. I think Skye's A tier. Again, I said this before, the nerfs were way overstated. She's not that bad. She's really fun to play. And if you want to play her, you should. Better than Gekko right now, in my opinion. Fade, I want to say middle of A tier. Not S tier, not Sova. Although, there are quite a few maps that slightly... I think there are 2 maps right now that slightly edge Fade over Sova. That being Pearl and Bind. So, for that reason, I can't put Fade in S tier, but I can put her in A tier. Strong agent, solid kit, very versatile. Honestly, in rank, you don't really need to communicate to your team to get things done with Fade, whereas with Sova, you might have to, so you can think of that as one of the benefits of playing Fade. But honestly, overall, solid agent, but not broken. Broken, however, is this guy, and he's been broken since beta. That's here to stay. And finally, for the initiators, we have Breach. I think Breach is in a similar position as KO, although I think because of the potency of the stun, there's an argument being made that he could be A tier. I think his main problem is that he sets up people from the other side of the map, and he's not really ever in the pack, so he doesn't get to call all that much, or he doesn't get to fight all that much. I think the reason he would be A tier is because Neon is super strong right now, and anytime Neon is strong, Breach is strong as a result. But I don't think that means that the character is necessarily good or that you have to pick him. I honestly think in some cases KO might be better. But the ultimate's always good. Being in B tier, by the way, doesn't mean that an agent's bad. It just means they're average. So, onto the Sentinels. Killjoy, I'm going to put Killjoy in the same tier as Cypher now. They're pretty level, honestly. On some maps, I'm going to put Killjoy a bit above Cypher. Put it at the top of B tier. On some maps, you're getting more out of Killjoy than you are Cypher. For instance, Ascent and Pearl, and the main reason for that is because they allow for plant denial. Cypher really works information, which is good for maps like Bind, not so much for maps like Pearl, but the information is pretty much always in front of you. Alongside that, Killjoy's ultimate is just far more useful. Her entire kit, generally speaking, just edges out Cypher's by a small amount. That's why she's above Cypher, but she's not so strong to the point where I'd actually consider picking her over the new Sage. And maybe I'm just super biased. I actually think, guys, that this new Sage is incredibly strong. Deadlock, I think, also beat her. I'm not sold on Deadlock. I've not really ever been sold on Deadlock except that one video where I was talking out my ass. I don't know. I just don't think she does anything outside of crouch net. You're picking Deadlock for the crouch net. And when the crouch net is used, the wall is okay. The stun sense is terrible, especially for watching flank. They don't do anything. And really, she's an agent that wants to be fighting, so you can't lurk that much with her, which kind of removes a lot of the purpose of being a sentinel on attack. Some rounds you would like to lurk. With Deadlock, it's pretty hard to do that sometimes because you want to be using your crouch nade for executes. So I think she's worse than both Killjoy and Cypher. Vyse. Now, I'm not entirely sold on Vyse as a solo sentinel for the time being. I think there's still a lot of theory and a lot of works that needs to be done, and I want to see it being played more in ranked before I get a better opinion of her, because right now I'm not seeing any Vyse ever, which is probably a good thing because the flash is fucking annoying as fuck. But I don't know. I don't think the ultimate's that good. It's really hard to follow up on it sometimes. And while the wall is a standout part of her kit, the fact that agents like Neon can just run past it and then run back or just full sprint through the wall to slide in your face kind of makes the game a bit harder to play. Even Cypher has more agency in the fact that Neon would get slowed by the trips even if she doesn't get revealed. So I don't really know. That's why I'm putting her in B2. Last and certainly least, we have Chamber. I do not think that Chamber is a good Sentinel. I think he always has offered a role that is different to the traditional Sentinels, and that's why you only really saw him being played on Bind and Lotus. Outside of that, he's like a niche pocket pick. You pick him because you have the op and you really want a hard carry with the operator. He's not bad. He's not terrible, but I think he's bad. If you're picking Chamber, you might as well pick Jett. Sorry, I saw. And now for the last of the shoulders. I think Astra is high A tier, maybe even verging on S tier for this tier list, but I'm going to keep her in A tier for now just to be a bit conservative. The map pool is really good for Astra. You have Abyss and Pearl, and with the Omen nerfs, potentially Ascent is better to play for her. And generally speaking, with the last patches we had that buffed Astra to be more in line with the other controllers again, well, we're not in an Astra-dominated meta, we're in a meta where Astra can shine. And I think that if you're an Astra player, or you were an Astra player and you were forced off playing Astra because she sucked, you can get back on her now. Brimstone. I think Brimstone is C-tier. Only map he's playable on is Bind. Outside of that, he offers post-plant lineups, but you got to get into the post-plant first. And that's pretty difficult to begin with. He doesn't really offer anything to do that. Clove has a res and can fight. Astra has stuns, pulls, sucks. Omen has flashes and TPs. Brimstone has a stim beacon, so that works. Viper. I have not seen any Viper really this patch at all. I think Viper could be good on split, but I don't actually know. I think for the first time, Viper, in my opinion, is like low B, maybe even C. I'm going to put her in C because I don't like her. Also because I've just not seen her at all, this app. Now, I don't know about pro play. I'm not going to comment on Viper on pro play. One, because I think she's always going to kind of have a place if double controller is playable. But yeah, I mean, right now, I mean, Astra, I could see Astra Viper being playable. I don't know about solo controller, definitely not. I'll put her in B tier. I don't think she's that bad. I just don't think she's as good as she used to be. Harbor. I don't need to say much more. I'm sorry to all of the Lululu fans out there. I actually, after reading some of the comments, I started getting Lululu recommended to me on my TikTok, on my Instagram Reels, or whatever. And you know what, bro? I get it. I actually get it. But I think you're missing the whole point. And that's that Lululu's better at the game than you. So unfortunately, Harbor is D-tier. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you agree, disagree, don't forget to let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this patch and your agent placements. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bro fist.